Welcome to the Trash Cats Trash Cast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven. Today, I want to kick it off with a little question. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe. I don't know yet.
All right. Which is sadder? Smoking 1 cigarette a day or 3 packs a day? And show your work, show your logic.
Okay. Now, I think there is a bit of a difference in the one cigarette a day.
Yeah, just one single cigarette.
Now, that is either someone who has control over
Takes discipline.
Yeah, that's a disciplined person. That's someone who just likes to have a cigarette after a long day of work or something. You know, they're not craving them later. Like, that's crazy. It's usually unheard of. Or it's either that or someone who's going through the dregs of it and they're trying to quit and just can't seem to get rid of that one last one in their routine. The 3 packs a day, I've at the height of the most cigarettes I've ever smoked in one day, it's never crossed the 2-pack threshold.
2 packs is a lot too.
That's a lot. I mean, and so I can't even say it's past 1. I've, when splitting a pack of cigarettes with a partner at the time, we went through, and I'm sure I was bumming them out to other people. I know at one night at a pool hall, we went through an entire pack of cigarettes, had to go out and get more during that night.
Oh yeah.
Still had that whole pack, most of that pack there the next day. So I'm going to say a pack and a half of cigarettes.
That's nothing. I'll suck down a whole carton a night.
Yeah.
One after another.
I think I'm going to have to go the 3 packs a day is sadder. And listen, I know it seems like the obvious answer, so I know that you're going to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're all sorts of backwards here. All right, here's what comes to mind for me. Mm-hmm. A 3 pack a day type of fella. This is their lifestyle, right? They chose this. They live and breathe Marlboro, baby. And
yeah, they do. Literally.
They're committed to dying this way, right?
Right.
Like, they have no hope. They're probably covered in ash.
3 pack a day takes effort.
It does.
I feel like that's a lot.
Hours.
So, that's 60 cigarettes. Is what that is. Okay.
Each cigarette's 5 minutes.
Let's assume you're awake for
5 hours of smoking.
Yeah. So you're awake for 18 hours of the day.
You're smoking 30% of your day.
That means, okay.
I've been there. I've done that.
That means you're having 3 an hour.
Easy.
Every
20
day.
minutes. Like clockwork. Now, that's sad. Right? But it's more like pathetic. Now, I see a 1 cigarette a day person as far more tragic. Right?
Hold on. Let me guess why. Let me take a guess why.
Yeah.
You're going to say because they're not living up to their potential.
They're not living up to their potential, brother. But right. Now,
they could be doing so much more.
Now, many of them, right? I will grant you, there is a spectrum, or it's more like there's 2 poles of 1 a day smoker, and about half of them go to the side of like they're disciplined and they're really trying to quit or trying to get through something, but also the other side of that coin is I think they are often the far more tragic and romantic figure of like their life is in shambles. Maybe their spouse just died of throat cancer and they can't quite quit, and every night they still have that one, or their parents dying and they sneak out to the hospital every night and they just suck down the one little tasty morsel of happiness to get through the day. They literally are just living to get to that last cigarette at the end of the day. And I think when you do that math, the 3-pack-a-day smoker, they might be like more fucked, kind of pathetic-y sad, but the 1 cigarette a day, that's just tragic.
That's existential sadness.
Yeah, dude, like that is some real struggle.
Now, here's the question I have on that, because there has to be a metric, I think, that they're at what point, how many was that?
It's by tiers. It's by the ratio of how many cigarettes they've accidentally unlit by crying. I don't see many 3-pack-a-day smokers extinguishing their cigarettes with their tears accidentally. No, but many cigarette smoker. Yeah.
They have a lot of money invested into cigarettes at that point. That's that's another point, to your, to finish your point too, is like, okay, if they can afford 3 packs a day, like
they're
consistently,
living, baby.
They either are in copious amounts of debt and everything else in their life is terrible, or they can afford their habit. Then they must be making good money. They're like, dude, a pack of Marlboros is like $10 now.
It's disgusting.
It's crazy.
Because it's artificially priced that high.
I asked not too long ago, because I haven't smoked cigarettes in years, but I asked, someone behind the counter at the gas station, like, how much are Marlboro Reds? Like, that's the price. I think we've talked about this before, shorter, like when it happened.
It dictates the whole U.S. economy, the price.
It really does. Yeah. I think it says a lot. Because like that's kind of like the mid-range of like good cigarettes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, it's
says a lot about society.
So the question is then, like, how many cigarettes do you have to smoke before it becomes sadder than the 1 cigarette a day? Is it 4 packs, 5 packs? If you get someone muscling down 6 packs of cigarettes a day.
Dude, they should be studied, bro.
Yeah.
Now my grandpa, who I never met,
studied or celebrated in some way. They're still around.
So my grandpa, who I never met because he died from cancer complications, he smoked 3 packs a day, drank 3 pots of coffee a day, and had about a 30-pack of beer every day.
A 30-pack every day.
Easy, dude. Just gulping, bro.
What a life.
Dude, he was a champ, dude. He was a World War II bomber. Bombed the fuck out of some Nazis and came back and drank and smoked about it.
Yeah, man. He was not fucking around.
That's that old school shit.
I think for the most part, like my entire time of my life that I did smoke cigarettes, there's definitely times when I had more different times of the year where we were busier or whatever, and I was more stressed out, and I'm sure I had more. But typically, I was like, 3 to 4 a day.
Yeah, you were always good. I'm a 3/4 pack to a pack type of day of them Cowboy Killers, and now with vaping, I'm just completely out of control.
Yeah, it's rough.
I'm at 6 packs of cigarettes worth of nicotine a day. Easy. And I'm actually thinking about quitting vaping because I've developed a little tasty poo for the vape juice plain. And I'm thinking about just drinking it, just gulping it, Just saying, fuck it, dude. Why even bother vaporizing it? Let's just drink this shit.
I was so ready for that to go into like, and I can get it without nicotine, and I'm going to do that. And my dumb ass was so convinced. That's very funny.
Well,
I do have a coworker that's trying to quit, and I may do that with her because I'm definitely. I go back and forth with it. I feel like I'm better than I used to be with it. but it still sucks. It's mostly like, I don't mind doing it. It's the financial thing of like, I'm spending, like, this is money I could use for anything else. That's my main kind of drive on it.
You should quit too, because you don't love it the same way I do, and you're still getting all the downsides. And
I'm a poser. That's what you're saying.
I think I should also quit, and I intend to. I might this year, but I'm just.
Do you love it too much?
I love it too much. I got no other vices, dude. I got sex, nicotine, caffeine. That's all I got, dude. No heroin.
Yeah, that's the one. It's like it's caffeine. Like I'm not drinking anymore, really. Like I think I had, I might have had up to 12 alcoholic drinks all of last year.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm pretty sure I didn't have more than 10 though.
Yeah. Good for you on that, because I know that can be hard, but
it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It was just that, like, I just don't want it anymore. And then when I do, it's like, half the time I'll drink. I'll either make a cocktail or crack open a beer, and I drink half of it, and then I'm just not.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
Yeah, it's just different for me. I would never not finish anything if I just have like a couple ounces. I will instantly find Xanny bars of vodka and the nearest heroin dealer.
Did I tell you my plan to I like rolling joints, and I like the ceremony, kind of like the ritual involved of smoking weed. And I think I'm just going to start rolling joints and throwing them away.
Dude, don't do that. Stash them somewhere. Shit, sell them something.
I get weed for free, so I have so much weed.
Dude, stash them up. I'll unload them for you. Something.
I'm definitely gonna make some honey. I want to do that this year. I did it a couple years ago, and it was fantastic. Especially, I made it the year I got COVID, and that was incredible. I was doing that. I was making like cocktails with that, and then, taking my cold medicine and shit, getting all nice and looped up, and just I slept through my entire COVID situation. It was great.
That's right. All right. Now that we got all that established, which I think was very important.
It was.
I think we should frame this episode a little bit if people haven't already caught on. So we have a couple bigger research episodes on the horizon. Mm-hmm. The next one coming up, I have a couple more edits, but we have finally doing our episode on the White House Faith Office. Be very interesting. We're going to crucify some Christians. But next week, Ricky's going to be in town, and we're going to see Buckethead, which will be very rad. So today's going to be a little bit of a freestyle mixed in with just some of the random, like, shower thoughty things that fell through the cracks. So big goofs. But first, I know last week wasn't the best. How's your week going? What's going on?
It feels like I'm doing good. And, this is usually the time of year. Like, I've been depressed all winter, this winter. This is usually the time of year when it starts to actually hit me. As it goes back and forth from being like cold to like, oh, it's getting nice again, to like it's cold again, and like it's getting nice again, and then it's cold again. That's usually when I start to feel it, but I'm feeling like I'm coming out of it a little bit in the sense of like now it's typically during like this time of the year, it's like kind of stagnant. I'm still waiting for the thing, like for business to pick up, for
get busy again.
Yeah, to get busier again. So it's usually kind of like there's some anxiety behind it, but we're getting started a lot sooner this year because there's a lot more work to do, which is good. And I think between that and the sunshine, it's definitely helping. Not super excited with the world around me and all that still. I do still have a raccoon that's burrowed into my roof, and there's a fucking a tangerine tyrant in the White House. So
yeah,
it could be better, but it also could be worse.
Status quo.
And I have my first therapy session scheduled for next week. So
that's awesome. That's really cool.
Hell yeah. What about you? How you doing?
I'm okay. I did have a little bit of an incident this week. I told you about it a little bit already, but I'm at work again, right? My incident with my back the week before, and been struggling a little bit, but feeling better. I'm at work this week, and I hear some commotion out the window, and that could be anything, right? I've had cars hit our house. We've had the pigs got loose from the neighbor next door in the city. We've had pig executions. We've had plumbers' van stolen, and then they beat a prostitute. Like anything. People get shot, whatever. This time I hear some squabble. I'm not sure what's going on. I go to the window, and I see 3 squad cars, lights lit up, right? And I see 2 or 3 of the cops walking, guns drawn, into my backyard. So, not good, right? I'm in my boxers, instantly on high alert. So
yeah, that's immediate anxiety inducing.
Yeah. So here's my train of thought. Here's what I do first. I throw on pants, check the alarm system, make sure it's locked and armed, right?
Right.
Then I start Googling frantically, right? Check up my county's court records to see if I have any active warrants, right? Now, I think this is a wise move. This comes from experience, right? This is a good way to start before you have an interaction with the cops, if you know you have just enough time.
Yeah.
And nothing current. I can see all my past charges in line as they should be.
Everything you documented and accounted for.
Very appropriately listed. And so at that point, I believe I can talk to these fine police officers. So I disengage the booby traps, right? I don't want anyone to get hurt on accident.
Right.
And instead of going to the door, because I am a wise person, I open the window from upstairs and I yell down to them. And these cops, they put away their fucking AR-15s or whatever the fuck. And once I open the window, I can get a better idea what's going on. And I see that a massive 10-point buck is dead in my yard.
Rad as hell.
This massive deer. Antlers spanning 6 feet across. It's fucking huge. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I yell, the cops, holler up to me or whatever. And they said a hit and run happened. And the deer was hit crossing the road. The driver left. And apparently all 3 of these cops were there because they were trying to herd the deer off the road. But it was injured. Apparently it stumbles into our driveway and falls off the driveway into the bushes and appears to be dead. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, well, hey, what do I do? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. The animal control is on the way here. They'll tag it, shoot it, whatever, and get it out of your hair. And they immediately leave. And before I even process what's going on, I'm like, all right, sounds good. And I had to get back to work, but I'm like, oh shit. And they immediately left. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what did they mean by shoot? And then I end up going outside, and this massive deer is still breathing.
Oh, no. Oh, Jesus.
From my window, I thought it was clearly dead, and I just didn't put it together quick enough. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, it's writhing around just barely, but it's still trying to get up.
Right.
Cops are gone, and I feel like the righteous thing to do is to put it out of its misery.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the guy that, like, hurts a deer as animal control is, like, right about to be there. So I'm, like, considering...
That's such a shitty position.
Yeah, dude, because
It's I'm like sure if you didn't, like, if there is no one else there, it would be a lot easier to make. Yeah, it makes it easier to make that call of like, this is the better thing to do, is to put this thing out of its misery.
But then it's sketchy because it's still illegal to fire your gun in the city. And then, like, if you cut its throat or use a rock or whatever, then you look like insane.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've had this thought of like, what happens if you hit a deer while driving? Like, I feel like I've always like tried to tell myself, if that happens, whatever the consequences are, you just should try to kill the deer as painlessly as possible.
Yeah.
If there's an accident and you need to.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you're kind of hindered because you're like, I don't want to get in some weird trouble or have to like deal with the cops at this level because I was trying to help this deer. But so I'm like considering my options, and it really only was like 5-10 minutes, fortunately. But I watched this beautiful, massive deer take its last breath as it's looking at me. I'm like, fuck, dude, this was sad. It was brutal.
Yeah, that sucks.
So it did, but you know, it's on the unfortunate circle of life. I wasn't like fucked up about it, but you know, it was sad. And then the real fun begins. So
oh, God.
I had to talk to my boss. I'm like waiting for animal control to show up. And about 45 minutes goes by, and I come to the what should have been obvious conclusion, that these cops never talked to animal control or made a police report. And then I have to go finish my workday while calling the city and debating them to come pick up this deer. Now, they tell me animal control never got a call. And there's no record of the police at my address. And that they never even would come to pick it up because they don't deal with animals on private property. Now, I'm pretty pissed off at this point, and I convinced them that because the police were here, and I could prove it if I had to, that they were supposed to put down the animal, that regardless of it being on private property, somebody needed to come pick this up. Now, this deer weighs at least 200, 250 pounds. Easy. It is fucking huge. And how it's tangled up in our bushes and dead weight, I don't feel like I could move it. Like, it's hanging off a driveway, mangled in bushes, all fucking gory and shit. So I end up debating the city into coming to pick it up. They say they'll be there overnight. Next morning, they don't show up. Call again in the morning. They say they'd come by the time I'm off work. They don't show up. So at this point, I'm at going on 2.5 days of a rotten 200-something pound deer mangled in my bushes. And when I call the city again at that point, they tell me, hey, we are not going to come pick it up unless you get it onto public property, which just seems outrageous to me.
Yeah.
So after work, then it becomes me and Sarah.
Wait, hold on a second. When's the last time you ever heard of a government officials not wanting to come onto your property?
Yeah, right.
Like never happens.
It's like they always came onto my
way more than happy to just walk up into your shit. Yeah, it's like that. The cops should have done it when they were there in the first place.
They were on the property to watch it. Like,
I bet the fucking cops hit the deer.
That would be the real funny part, because honestly, that adds up, and I hadn't really considered that. I wouldn't be surprised. But, so, of course, we don't have any fucking gloves. Like, work gloves. I had burnt through the last with a bunch of poison ivy. So, I ended up resorting to plastic Kroger bags. Bro, because I'm like, I don't have time. I just got off work. I don't have time to now go to Home Depot and wrestle up some gloves.
Fucking Edward Kroger hands over here.
Dude, I'm like trying to wrap them in these plastic bags, and I'm grabbing onto this, going on 2.5, 3 days old dead deer. And I'm trying to tug it by the hooves out of this bush, and the fucking legs are disjointing, and blood is pouring from its insides out of car wounds. It is fucking disgusting. Flies that have been feasting are flying all over me. And I get to the point where I'm like, this is just untenable. Like, it weighs too much in its current position and state for me to get out alone, at least.
Yeah.
So, I give Sarah the credit for this. She takes a look at her little, she's got a tiny car, but she's like a car chick. She like has it souped up. And it's a manual, and every single day the roads were icy since I've known her, like in the winter. She fucking whips it to work every single day in this tiny little souped up car. She's just a fucking maniac. She like tries to drive as close to all the curbs as possible, and it's like whipping it. She does like 3 donuts every day on the way to work. She's just a psycho, right?
Yeah,
she's wild.
Real hellion.
Yeah, she makes fun of me because she gets my car out of the snow and ice all the time, and I can't drive her car, so it's funny. But,
I say that's chivalry.
Yeah. It's so embarrassing. It's at first it was embarrassing, but she takes pride in it, and I think it's really cute and cool that she can whip her car like that or whatever. But
yeah,
she has like a hook on the body on the back of her car, and we end up hooking some wenches and straps or whatever the fuck to the back hook, and I tie up this deer with ratchet straps, and we hook it to her car, and we put boards under the deer's corpse through the bushes, and fucking she guns it, and we fucking launched it out of the bushes and drove it onto private or the public property across the street and dump it. Ratchet straps and all. Just cut them off. You should have
just fucking left it in the middle of the fucking street.
It kind of was. And then I called the city back, and they were there in 20 minutes to take it away. This dude shows up. Here's the kicker. This dude shows up. He's 6'5", easy. Wearing the reflective, green hoodie, all that shit. Yeah, 6'5", 300 pounds, easy. He doesn't put on gloves. He just grabs the deer by one of its haunches with one hand and drags it to his truck and uses a little lift, and he bolts out. He was there in 20 minutes and did it with one hand. No gloves and one hand. And I'm like, what the fuck? I spent 3 days trying to figure this fucking thing out. I felt like
had him out here, it would have been done in 20 goddamn minutes. That's infuriating.
And he probably was the guy that showed up twice and was just like, I can't get it. But it was so ridiculous. It was
you have my permission to come on my property. I'm inviting you.
I'm saying that, like, I'm like, please, can you just like help me? Like, even if it was just like one other guy like that, like just somebody give me a hand. Like, I don't know if I could have dragged it. Like, if you were here, I don't think we could have dragged it. It was way too heavy in the position.
I wouldn't have fucking wanted to.
No. I had like one backup call of my buddy with the truck, and I just didn't want to subject anybody to it. Besides my girlfriend, apparently.
Yeah, besides there.
She doesn't give a fuck. She's like, yeah, let's do it. Fucking wacky shit. So that's been my week.
Wow, what a rush.
Yeah.
You know, and on that note, thanks again for listening, everybody. I guess honestly, we can crank out a little bit longer.
Yeah, I got a couple. Well, you got any honorable mentions?
I don't.
White Lotus on HBO. I'm still early into the first season, but it is really good. It's just like about a place, this resort in Hawaii, and it's the people's stories as they're interacting. I like when it kind of like less intense plots have just really good character writing and dialogue so fucking hard and just interesting human interactions. I do think the plot does build. I haven't got to some of the peaks yet, but it is an incredibly good start for sure. Definitely worth checking out. Art-wise and music-wise, I've been a little disappointed, but I am looking forward to Buckethead. And then I got 3 philosophy politic-y things we could play with if you want.
Okay, yeah. I'm into that.
We can call it off early at any time. But this
anywhere between 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This first one, I thought of you a little bit because of our past conversations about God stuff. So anyone that's listened to us for any amount of time has heard us talk about the problem of evil, especially if they're philosophy fans. I heard a really interesting answer to the problem of evil, and I think it is bullshit, but it's pretty interesting, and I'm curious what you'll think of it. So, to the unfamiliar, the problem of evil is the philosophical question of how to reconcile the existence of evil and suffering with an omnipotent, omnibenevolent, oh my god, an omniscient, oh my god. The existence of evil and suffering with an omnipotent, omnibenevolent, and omniscient God. Yep. Can't pronounce shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can take omnibenevolent one more time.
Omnibenevolent, benevolent, and
it's the L and the N. They're so hard.
So bad.
It's too many syllables in a word that shouldn't be.
Way too many. So this is the classic, like, how can God exist when kids have cancer? And one of the answers we've looked at before is like, well, why is the assumption God is benevolent? Maybe there's an evil God, which is kind of a fun answer.
Yeah.
And we've explored that before, but I heard a good one that I think is stupid but fun. Okay. So this person's answer in a debate was that their perspective was that suffering can only be measured retrospectively. So you cut your knee, right?
Mm-hmm.
It heals. And let's say you even like how that scar looks, right? They would say you didn't truly suffer. In retrospect, it turned out to be a good thing. It made you stronger, cooler, whatever the fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's bullshit, but it is interesting. I think fits in line. That type of thinking fits in line with a lot of Christian theology.
Yeah, so, it's very God gives his hardest problems to his most powerful or
strongest soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
He only gives you what you can handle type of
shit. Exactly. Yeah.
So this person's idea was that the physiologic experience of death, when people talk about their near-death experiences, that type of shit, the white tunnel, the rush of DMT into the brain, all that shit, is such a profound chemical bliss in a degree so powerful that it would negate our entire life suffering. And because suffering can only be measured by how in retrospect, the end of our life, what it all added up to, that bliss of death would remove any amount of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's God's true grace, is the bliss of death.
I think it's very flowery and poetic.
It's a great little loophole.
Yeah, kinda. I think there's still the thing of like, my whole thought on it is like, if they are, said to be all powerful, like, why were we made flawed in the first place? What's the point of having to grow if we don't need to even, if we could be made in a way that, we don't need to worry about those things. We're made in a way that we don't have to worry about food, even. Like some of our needs, like basic function shit.
I agree with you, but I could give the Christian arguments or...
Well, yeah, and like I get the idea of like, okay, these are experiences that make, life more, fulfilling in a dark way and grand. It makes it feel more precious. But also it feels like that's a cop-out answer of like,
I agree.
It's a, if he wasn't able to do it right the first time, if he, has to test your faith and all this other shit, that seems like a him problem and that, or them problem. And it makes it seem like, regardless of whether it's God's will or not, they're not worthy of my praise. I could make a better plan myself where people just don't have to deal with suffering and are already, powerful enough to do the things they need to. And, the dopamine receptors in our brain are triggered at, the right things and whatever. It doesn't seem like if someone's all powerful, that's still not worth giving credit to. Yeah, exactly. Show it. Yeah. There's no reason for me to, it's like, even if you were to argue like God does exist and you don't understand his plan, you're not ever going to understand his plan, but this is what it is. It's like, okay, well then he's not worthy of my praise.
Yeah. When they say like, oh, your suffering will be alleviated and it's all part of, this exam to see if you enter heaven or hell, they're basically saying your whole life is a game. Your suffering is an intricate test to see where your soul will reside for eternity. Like, how fucking stupid. How fucking dumb.
That's malevolent. That's the opposite.
Absolutely.
That's extremely cruel to do to someone that, and then to say, but he loves you. And it's like, it's not the thing that you do to people. It's completely contrarian to the things that, the Bible teaches you, to be, and, loving each other and giving each other grace and trust and things like that it's fucked. The
Christian God is a monster that will never be satiated.
Yeah, just wants to see suffering and only made us if we were made and by
obedience.
For obedience and for to worship him, and I think that's fucked up.
It's so funny. They always talk about like, oh, he gave you free will to sin, but if you do, you'll burn in hell forever.
Yeah, it's like that's not free will then.
Yeah, that's consequences.
I'm gonna give you authority. these natural instincts that are in these chemical reactions in your brain that gives you good responses when you when you do these things, that it gives you pleasure and it gives you adrenaline and gives you pride and
that'll burn you.
Now those things are all bad for you actually, and you have to ignore them. You can't listen to your own instincts that I gave you, because that's not what you're here for. It's like, that's fucked.
I always struggled with that so much in fucking AA. you get your fucking stupid ass coin chips that people are like, oh, my little trophy. And then they say, to thy own self be true. And it's like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, if I want to be true to myself, I'm going to trade this for a beer. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, your true self is not always your best self.
If I was being true to myself, I'd go try to ask my dealer if he would accept these as currency.
Bro, if you ever seen, there's like I don't know if there's any in Cincinnati, but there's bars at like certain party cities that will trade a 30-day coin chip for a beer.
That's insane.
It's fucking dope, dude.
That's crazy. It's like, I get
it's so dark, but I mean, I feel like it's
super dark. And
it's a fair play.
Yeah, I get that there are some people that need that sobriety a lot more than others. But for those people that are like ultimately just destroying someone's life. It's so fucked.
I feel like the flip side is I bet like half of the places that do it are actually like, maybe my intuition is wrong on this, but I have a feeling like half of the places that do it probably have the logic of like, they have like sober bartenders and they would rather you like show your chip and maybe be talked out of it. And if not, you get a free beer than to like just have somebody relapsing. And I don't know. There's like a weird harm reduction chance if you wanted it to be. But
yeah, I can absolutely see that, of it being a like, hey,
I might be overthinking it.
If you're going to do it, like, it's better than like going to the liquor store, hit it all up, go home by yourself and drink yourself to death.
You're interacting with someone who might like at least pump the brakes a little bit for you.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Or like, hey, we'll give you that beer for free, but if you're going to drink here all night, we're going to like limit you or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sir, put some, just pour some non-alcoholic beer in a glass and... Dude, they make good non-alcoholic beer now. I've really heard that, wild.
But I've never tried it.
I know they make non-alcoholic Guinness. I don't think I've tried that one yet. But I like them a lot. I mean, I like seltzers and stuff anyways. I don't drink pop as much anymore, but the seltzers and stuff are like, I want something else besides just water all the time.
Monster, baby.
And I mean, I still get the what I'm getting out of drinking a beer is not, I'm not drinking to get fucked up. I'm not drinking to,
why bother?
You relax or whatever. It's like, it's not worth it because it's going to make me feel shitty the next day. I do like the taste of beer, like a good beer. I like it.
Fucking up your gains, bro.
Yeah. So they have, all these non-alcoholic ones that are actually good now. That's been super helpful. I really dig it.
For number 2, we talked about the Christian Monster. You ready for the second one?
Oh yeah.
We got 2 monsters today. All right. This monster is it's a little I don't know, concept against the argument for utility. So we've talked about utilitarianism, like whatever offers the philosophy of essentially whatever offers the most utility or best utility to the most people, whatever is the way you should make your moral decisions, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I don't know who first published the idea, but I've heard it, or I've dubbed it the mega sensitive monster. So let's say you're living in a little town. You're among all the villagers, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in one of the houses, there's this mega monster, but it's really sensitive. But as a village, you've kind of collectively found out that for whatever reason, this monster is 1,000 times more sensitive than the average person. So when it gets hungry, it's 1,000 times hungrier than everyone else. If you give it affection, it feels it 1,000 times more. It's just super sensitive. So when this monster is hungry, it is so much more hungry than everyone else in the village combined, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to satiate it because the fate of the rest of your village is on the line, right? If we don't prevent it from being hungry, it may end up eating us. So, despite the fact that you want to feed everyone in the village, if you have a limited amount of food, because this monster's so sensitive and so hungry, you're going to give most of your food to that monster just to satiate it.
Yeah.
Now, the crossover into reality is, if you think of like people, problematic normally, people in your life that are super sensitive,
mm-hmm.
if you give them more energy because that's what they need to be okay, the more needy they are, the more they will take to satiate.
Yeah.
And in reality,
you end up giving so much of your time and your energy and your resources to someone who, whether or not they are grateful for it, is like, that makes a big difference. But you're giving them your time and effort and resources in order to just to keep them at bay. Meanwhile, everyone else around you is lacking your attention and your what you could be giving them instead.
Absolutely. The mega sensitive monster is incredibly selfish. And if in reality they're not actually a monster and our the amount of resources we can give are limited, then by trying to appease their sensitivities that are higher than the average person, you're losing the material utility or whatever to help everyone else. And
yes.
It's just an argument of like, hey, well, utilitarianism is often a good way to reason through a dilemma of resource. It often isn't, because some people will need so much more that they would prohibit you from helping everyone else.
Yes.
I hope I explained that. That was like a...
No, I resonate with this 100%. The phrase I usually hear this in is like the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
And it's like you see it in a couple different ways, and I've kind of had this motif in my life of most recently it's like customers and stuff, customer service jobs, where you have people that call up and they're, bitching all the time about, whether it's like a product or something that wasn't, they weren't happy with something. And I get when that's like honest, when it's honest and it's like, hey, this was fucked up and here's why. Yeah. It's like, I get 100%. I want to take care of those people for sure. But there are absolutely tons of people,
selfish whiners, swine.
They know that they can get something free out of it. Like, I've had people in my family that were like that would go to restaurants and like, I've never seen it happen, but I heard stories of like one of my, distant relatives that would take like hair and put it in their food and then like try to get like free food out of it, or like would bitch about it.
Low class behavior.
It's just really fucked up shit. And it's like, you don't have any idea what that does to, for a business. Like, it's so much, it's crazy. And like that kind of thing, it makes me so mad, because then I think of like all of our regular customers that come by and they're just happy to be there every day. And like, they're there every week or whatever. And they spent so much money with us, and like, we know them on a first name basis, and they're super cool. And it's like, I want to give them stuff. Like, they should get, like, if we're going to give this person who called up complaining about whatever dumb thing, a free smoothie the next time they're here. Like, we should do that for the people we like, for the people that are kind to us, that tip well and shit like that. And we do. Like, my boss is about that. Like, we were talking not too long ago about like, we should just do that sometimes. Like, for some of our regulars, like, just comp their order, or comp a couple things on their order if it's a big order, like whatever. We know they're going to come back. We know they're going to spend money. We have like loyalty programs and they use that too, but like, it's nice. And we give out like gift cards at the end of the year for like some of our, top spending customers and stuff.
You know what you should do?
What's that?
Is when someone says they had a hair in their food, you of course ask to see it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Then you should just take it from them and eat it real quick and say, what hair?
What hair? Just right in front of their face. Just
There's
eat it.
no hair on your food.
With the working with fruit and stuff now too, like I have gotten someone saying that there was something in their food when it was like, like pineapple can get like stringy. They had like a pineapple string and they thought it was like, a hair. And I was like, that's not what that is.
There's this weird fruity fiber in my fruit.
Well, they were cool. They were like, oh, okay, I see with that. The other one was kiwi.
And then you followed them home and slashed their tires. And
exactly.
Their business. Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. The kiwi was the one that like I had a lot more trouble arguing with it because I get the perspective, I get the visual thing, and it's like I'm not going to argue with them. I'm just going to say like, hey, actually, I'm 100% certain that's just the hair from a kiwi, like the outer piece of a kiwi. Like sometimes we try to do some of those ahead of time, but if it's really busy, we'll have to cut those to order. And then, you have the kiwi, fuzz on the cutting board and like that happens. But it's easier to just be like, listen, like, I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I'm still going to make you a new one. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm just like dismissing it. Yeah. It's like, it's wild to me that this is going deep in a way that when I was young, I'm trying to figure out the better way to say all this without going into all the details of it. But like my relationship with my sister was weird. She was adopted. She still distant family, whatever. But, she, as we got older, would just get into trouble all the time, stealing shit, lying about it all the time, just constantly lying about her troubles, caused my parents a lot of headaches. Even as she got older, like she went to go live with her birth mom, but it was still like an issue because like she always needed like money for stuff all the time. It was a lot of headaches between like just all the different goofy shit they tried to do to like help her like stay out of trouble, like buying her a car. And it's like, just, go to school and get, a C average and you can have this car and like, don't lie to us. And like, could she fuck that up? And like all the money that they had spent on dumb shit like that when it came to me, like I felt bad oftentimes because I felt bad for asking for things, knowing what they were going through with that.
Yeah.
And it's my mom apologized for it years later of like, that sucked. That must have really sucked for you. Because it was exactly that of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
She, got all the extra, attention and shit. And it's not that they didn't have, things more. For me.
Not necessarily like, I'm not passing judgment of like whether it's deserving or not, but
yeah.
It was demanded in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, and I don't hold, like, no one's at fault for that. Like, yeah, like she was a fucking tyrant and like they were trying to do their best to just like keep her from ending up in jail.
Yeah.
So I can't fault them for that. And I was otherwise pretty chill. I had my own jobs from like a really young age. I was doing paper routes and shit like that.
Oh man, the paper route days, dude. That was some shit, wasn't it?
It was, man. It was fun.
I did that for a bit too.
Dude, I was rad as hell. I had a laptop or computer speakers plugged into my Walkman.
Oh, yeah.
Plugged into I would mount them up on my bike like handlebars.
Yeah, dude.
Going down the street playing fucking Black Sabbath and shit.
That's rad.
Cool as hell.
Just curious, we could talk about that more if you wanted, or we could go in our speed run the third one. What are you feeling?
Let's speed run the third one. I wanted to resonate, I wanted to tackle that too because I absolutely resonate with it. It sucks. there's not really a good answer to it, because
there's not.
There is a feeling of necessity of like, especially when it's someone that's close to you, that like you're just you feel like you're trying to help.
Yeah.
And it just it's just like a vacuumous pit that you're just giving your attention and resources and energy to.
I think so much of it depends on like, okay, utilitarianism might not be the answer with this very specific thing, and it relies on so many other factors, but generally for someone that's struggling, but it would take a lot to help, I think oftentimes the answer kind of more broadly just falls under like general harm reduction. Is like, I can't fix everything, and I have to figure out like, how can I help things be less bad than the worst, and like whatever way that looks like, it really depends on the individual.
Yep. And it's all kinds of different relationships. It's in, family things and like romantic relationships, work relationships. You're going to find that everywhere.
Yeah. All right. Last one. This is the edgy one, guys. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. This is a very divisive issue online, and I've honestly spent a lot more time in the background kind of going into the philosophy and arguments around it, and it sucks because there's no good answer, but someone has to be a patriot. And as an artist, I do think it matters a lot. So the latest news around this issue is that Texas is attempting to ban lolicon. Now, like I said, very risque subject matter, and I think a lot of people just don't understand why it's important, but I think it is from a legal freedom, First Amendment point of view, philosophically. But lolicon it's art, anime, hentai, that often, I don't know if it necessarily has to, but often involves like underage characters. Broadly, lolicon doesn't specifically mean it's sexual, but most of it that is labeled that will be. And we've talked about this before in some of our episodes on like artistic freedom and stuff. I don't think there can be anything you draw that should be illegal. And I feel like that just has to be the standard. I think maybe when you get into the realms of like some digital art where like people can reproduce images of minors like artistically that are indistinguishable or nearly than a photo, maybe that's bridging into something else.
Yeah. I'm even willing to give ground to like the obscenity thing of like, if you draw a thing and you're displaying it in a place that, like putting up a bunch of porn in front of your house, but you live across the street from a school or something, like whatever.
But other laws address that. I know what you mean, but other laws would capture those facets of it. But Texas is basically just saying this would be illegal outright. So whether you like it or not, I do firmly believe it should be protected under freedom of speech. And as a fucking patriot and an artist, I think these groups should unite over this issue. So here's the article from AnimeHunch.com. I can speed run through this if you want.
Yeah, sure.
The Texas Senate has unanimously passed a bill that, if enacted to law, could potentially criminalize the possession of anime manga. I always fuck it up now. Manga. Jesus, I just need the reminder. Manga and video games featuring characters appearing to be minors in obscene situations. Senate Bill 20 aimed at combating the creation and distribution of CSAM, including depictions in cartoon or animation within its definition of prohibited visual material, child sexual abuse material, CSAM. Senate Bill 20 is set to take effect on September 1st, 2025, provided it is passed by the Texas House of Representatives and signed into law. So it hasn't passed yet, but there's a lot of bipartisan support, and it's looking likely it goes through. The bill, which seeks to amend Chapter 43 of the Texas Penal Code by adding in Section 43.235, defines an offense as knowingly possessing, accessing, intent to view, or promoting obscene visual material containing a depiction that, quote, appears to be a child younger than the age of 18, engaging in activities described in this other section, which refers to sexual conduct. The legislation explicitly states that this applies, quote, regardless of whether the depiction is an image of an actual child or a cartoon or animation or an image created by an artificial intelligence application or other computer software. According to the bill, an offense under this section is a state jail felony, with penalties escalating to third-degree felony for one prior conviction and a second-degree, whatever. It goes on a bit. But I don't like it. It sucks. It's just like such a shitty issue to take a defensive stance on. But I just, some of this shit, like, we read some of the articles, like, address, like, because it's huge in Japan too, and there are artists that make this shit online, and that's what their whole career is about. And I've watched interviews about some of those guys, and some of it is like fucked, disgusting, creepy shit, and a lot of it is sold to like pedophiles and shit. But I just don't think any form of art should be illegal that is actual handmade art. And there are a lot of like problematic freedom of speech issues at play when we're talking about like, oh, this is obscene. Like even like, all right, this is like the edgy shit. It's like teenagers use sexual material, right? Like there are millions of like young adults, like teenage guys and girls that use hentai anime like sexually to get off, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's good or bad, but the fact that this would make a ton of that shit fall into the same category as full-on child porn. And if Texas makes it illegal, like how does that affect obscenity law in these cases of like, how are they going to prosecute stuff from out of state? Like it's online, like it just becomes so problematic that it's just not the state's place to dictate this in art. Photographs are clearly something entirely different. And if anything, I'm definitely willing to be very reasonable about it. And I understand most people might not like this, but at the very least, then it should be addressed with better legislation. Like, these are not... Anything that's ever been proposed about this has been like dog shit legislation. That is just one step farther to banning like full adult porn, right? Like it's never like this is a reasonable step we can take to prevent children. That is never the fucking...
Yeah, exactly. Like this, none of this like helps. There's the stretch of the argument in this case to be made that it encourages predators to act on urges is usually the argument you hear against lolicon.
And the studies have, sorry, not to cut you off, when we looked at this last time, just like video games, the studies have been basically split. It's like, to the people that are likely to act out on it, the material often will exacerbate that, and to the people who aren't, it like may even cool off likelihood of acting, just like video games, basically. And overall, studies in these realms have basically shown, on the average, it about breaks even. There's no like dramatic influence one way or another. That people with those inclinations are going that way anyway, and people that aren't. And not everyone who engages in what the state may decide is obscene in this area is for sure a fucking pedophile or whatever. Yeah. Although it is often abused by pedophiles, unfortunately.
So the other question I have on that would be, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, before we started, but like, how do you police that? And I assume it could also be I know that typically with like actual like child pornography and stuff, there's like, it's a sting operation kind of thing, or they get like tips about somebody.
Well,
like they have to like find a way to know that it's there, or they pick up your hard drive looking for something else and find it.
Do you want some crazy stuff?
Yeah.
Most child porn stuff is never prosecuted. Basically, the FBI, like for each one person, and it's almost all through online shit, they catch people. It's like for each 100 people they identify, they only ever prosecute like one, because the amount of it online is insurmountable by the current staff of these agencies. The reality of like my understanding of just like briefly checking this bill is all this would change is that they would criminalize possession of the actual material, which would mostly be digital. So it would be like anyone that's sharing, and some of these are like TV shows, magazines, comics, like stuff that previously has been sold legally, completely across the world, across the country. Much of this would instantly be illegal in only Texas, which means
that's the other
Texas
one that makes
could prosecute people how they wanted, basically.
They gotta, it's like the Pornhub in Utah or whatever the fucking, I guess didn't you tell me they're doing that in Florida now too?
I think they already did in Florida. I could be mistaken, but it's like 11 to 13 states now. Pornhub is completely banned. And even because Pornhub won't do the state ID system, basically.
It's like, but to try to enforce that, but with any, website or forum or anything that could possibly host that is like, that's that's impossible to regulate.
Yep.
It seems
and a ton of it's like online games and shit. And I'm sure what Texas will find out is like, yes, a ton of these people are pedophiles, sexual deviants, or whatever. But I honestly would estimate like half the people that engage with this material are also minors. Like, think of how many like teenage anime girls. That's the type of shit they're into. Yeah. Or like the anime theater kids and shit. Like, instead of regular porn, they're just, getting the cartoon version, like whatever.
Yeah.
But it's an incredibly problematic thing. Like, you can make better legislation than this, and I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I think when stuff, obviously, whether it's AI or stuff that becomes near identical to like real life or photography or whatever, I think we probably need to address better legislation to not allow that to get completely crazy, because there are people with AI doing some weird fucked up shit. Yeah. And we probably need better legislation on that. But for just Texas to take this stand that doesn't address any of the nuances or like real problematic parts of it just seems very lacking.
Yeah, there's like, I think you hit the nail on the head of like, there's very much about this that just feels like trying to ban, we're taking steps to ban porn versus we are trying to help kids. It's like, that's like the shield they stand behind, but that's time. Not the,
to bash gay people, trans people, whatever they want to porn. Yeah. And then we're going to see more and more of that with, the next year of MAGA stuff. We've talked previously, and it's going to come up in our, White House Faith Office episode. The White House is making a big, Christian nationalist bent, and a lot of that is in relation to a federal abortion ban that the Republicans are trying to pass. And a lot of states are looking at porn bans, and there's definitely people proposing nationwide porn bans and rolling back gay marriage. And, it's all part of that agenda. And this is kind of like the weakest link. That's an easy place for them to make a fight in a lot of cases.
The fucking party of trying to defend your rights.
Yeah, freedom of speech. As they kick out that protester for Hamas. And, fuck Hamas, fuck Israel, fuck Palestine, fuck all that shit. I don't give a shit. But, all these Republicans are, now saying, oh, because he just had a green card, which still is a fucking citizen of this country. They don't have First Amendment rights, and we can kick them out to whatever fucking country we want. Like that. Yeah, no, that is where the Republicans are at with First Amendment, and it's so fucking disgusting. Yeah, dude. Fuck all these people.
Let me
making us defend Lawley.
Let me offer us a story, a more lighthearted something to end on here.
Do it.
So. This is it's a funny story now, and if I can look at it from if I remove myself from the situation and look at it from outside, it is funny. It's kind of sad, but it's funny.
Okay.
So there was a kid I went to tech school with in Florida. His name was, we called him Smiling. Had a cyst in his brain stem. And had he had the I guess the mental capacity of maybe a 11 or 12-year-old. He was 18 though.
Did Trump make him a Secret Service agent like he did the last kid?
He might have. I haven't checked in with in a while. I would actually. He's one of the people for sure. From my past, I would definitely want to check in with him and see how he's doing. Sure. He's a good guy. He liked his wrestling and he liked his video games, and he could follow some simple directions, and he was a big help. Kick-ass dude. So we would, most of us would go on lunch break and would sit out in the cafeteria or go to restaurants or whatever. And the classroom was usually empty, as well as after hours. Someone had found that was using the computer system.
Nice. To
use to look up porn.
Based.
I was just Googling, whatever on the school computer. It's
boobs.
The door, dude. That was one of them. But it would usually be now I don't know the likelihood that this would ever get back to him, but actually now I'm going to ask that you censor his name, because I did use his real name, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, all good.
He would look up, Dragon Ball Z porn, and just literally would just type out Dragon Ball Z porn, or different cartoon TV shows and look up that kind of porn, and
hundreds of websites devoted to it. Now,
yeah, exactly.
Any character that's not 18 in the show would be child porn equivalent. Get the fuck out of here.
So this whole thing on its own, based. It's very, very, we all been there, dude. You're good. You do your thing. Maybe don't do it at school. But the problem is someone in the class found out about it. Yeah. And they dragged him. And they didn't, it wasn't they went to a teacher. It's they went to everyone else and were going through it, and they were giggling and shit. And that fucking sucked.
It's so fucked.
So they were, fucking with him and whatever. And I, when I came in and I found out what was going on, I pulled him aside and I was like, hey, are you cool? And he was he was whatever. He was pissed, but otherwise, he was fine. And I just told him exactly that of maybe just don't do it at school, or I'll show you how to delete the history, and it's whatever, man. Don't stress on it, kind of thing. I felt
harm reduction.
It's I felt so bad for him in that moment, of course, but for the thing that it was, those kids were fucking looking at porn and shit too. They're just trying to call someone else out for doing it.
That's the Republican agenda.
he was an easy target, because, he was, he had the cyst in his brainstem and he was kind of, handicapped in that way. But it's like, how fucking shitty of a person do you gotta be to attack someone like that? Fucking kids are mean. Fucking it's Republicans are just big kids.
Sexual embarrassment too. Like,
yeah.
But like in a world of like, you're a senior in high school and you get caught like looking up some cartoon Family Guy porn on your school's Wi-Fi, and Texas classifies that the same as they do child porn, and you're all of a sudden on a child sex offender registry.
Yeah.
That I don't want to live in that world. I don't like when people draw like realistic shit of children, but it's like we need, if that's like what we are hell bent on preventing, then we need better legislation, because this is not like good freedoms and protections.
Yeah. It's all fucked and it sucks. Good news though, Homeboy did, by the end of the year, there is another girl from, she was around his age, maybe a year older or something. And she was in there with a different program, like I don't want to use the wrong words and be insensitive to it. It was like a special education kind of thing. And,
that's cute.
They ended up hooking up and they were very happily together. By the time I left. So good ending to the story of, she wasn't bothered by it. Yep. It's a Florida fairy tale.
Bro, those shows about it are pretty wild.
About Florida fairy tales? About which part?
I don't know what they're called. It's like they're like dating shows for autistic people.
Oh, like Dating on the Spectrum.
Yeah. Are those good? Are they done well, or is it like
so
weird? It seems like a mixed bag to me.
I forget what the situation was. I forget if it was like the first season got criticism or the second season got criticism, but they were like, in all, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think they're inherently they're very sweet. Yes.
That's kind of,
I'd say they're more good than bad. Yeah, they don't do an effort to drag somebody. Dude, there was one, and Homeboy was so fucking rad. He, I think it's like one of the first episodes of the second season. Dude, like they're interviewing him and they're just talking about his life, and there's like a quick back and forth, and they're like, he's like, you want to see my swords? And they go in, he's got like just a wall of different like blades and shit, and like all hung up on the wall. And he's got like Gundam figurines and shit. And I was like, all right, dude, you kick ass. Like they were there for just a minute to do like this interview. He's like, check out this awesome shit. It's a very, very based, very good shit.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, this is kind of a wacky one. Big stuff on the way. Any final words of wisdom?
Keep trying.
There is no try. There is only do.
Just shut up. Fuck up, Yoda. Wasn't that a Star Wars thing?
Yeah.
Fucking Qui-Gon bitch over here.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John.
Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcast on Instagram for news and art from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZACX. Cool stuff on the way. We'll let you guys know how Buckethead goes, and appreciate you guys, for real.
Fuck yeah, I actually got to get started packing here.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash.